Water, not diving with Scuba.
So we talked about in that first conversation, we talked about the kind of purpose of what you were doing. So has that changed in any way with this since the sort of new iteration or moving from Instagram?
No, so I guess the original purpose of doing the writing in that way, so I was writing notes, sharing them on Instagram, kind of about creativity, about scene building, about everything, I guess, post-lockdown, like what we were coming back into. And then that wave is kind of complete. Like we got back outside, we kind of figured things out. People have started new communities, new businesses, new clubs, things have shut down. I don't know, I got to travel everywhere that had received the messages as well. So I got to go to all over Asia, Europe. I went to Brazil, a couple of places in America and Canada. I felt like I spoke to everyone that had kind of resonated with the work. So I was like, okay, well, I feel like I've got a lot of answers for those questions, or not answers, but yeah, maybe the curiosity has been kind of satisfied in that regard. And there's like loads of ideas in that project itself that could be projects by themselves outside of it being like the yellow square.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the international context is interesting because I mean, the majority, I suppose the context of what you do is obviously UK and London specifically.
So.
But I mean, I suppose when you put it in the context of the pandemic, like the experience was similar around the world. So, I mean, were there any surprising things that you learned from traveling around like mine and talking to people?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been lost in translation is people think what we do here works.
Right.
So
you mean in sort of like UK music and that sort of
yeah,
thing?
like they would assume that, I say like London, like what they see coming out of London, so like the platforms, the music, the musicians, the DJs, the producers, the artists, they're all doing really well, you know, driving Mercedes, whatever the things of success that they can see via the internet, it's just what it is. That's right. What the music kind of, or DIY or techno or house or grime or electronic music scene is. And I'm like, okay, what you're seeing is a very like, is like the 1% of the 1%
right.
in the 1% city.
Right, yeah.
So I'm like, okay, if you just drove 40 minutes outside of where I live, it's not the same, not the same experience. If you went to Birmingham, Nottingham, Sheffield, Leeds, again, not the same set of experiences.
Right, yeah. I mean, we actually talked about that on that previous conversation, the kind of the British mentality towards success and successful people, right? And how we support them up to a point, and then it becomes, you know, something which is something, I guess the attitude changes once you hit a certain level of something. I mean, it's not always money, but sometimes it's correlated to money.
We're a country, we like underdogs, and then we support, I think we broadly support people to a point, and then we kind of let them go figure out for themselves. But then sometimes when I feel like we drop out the support of people with good ideas way too early, and then like, oh, they're stuck in this no man's land of like not being Tiesto, and then
right.
not being like an underground hero. There's like this, that's such a gulf between the two things, right?
Right, okay.
And loads of people fall into this that have good ideas but don't have a mechanism to like make a living from it. Everyone's feeling, oh, this person's a legend, they're sick. It's like, well, but they can't like get onto a festival bill, or they don't get the brand gig, or do you know what I mean? Like,
I do. As you were saying that, it kind of struck me that like, are the biggest stars in dance music specifically, we're probably underrepresented, right? Considering the perception of the UK as being this, you know, absolute center of electronic music and dance music, we're probably not contributing what we should do to the top tier. Is that fair?
I think so. Yeah, I think you're right. So if you looked at, say, like an Ultra lineup or a Tomorrowland lineup, yeah, you don't see like maybe like a drum and bass DJ or a house DJ from the UK. You don't see like the MCs. Like, I know like the relationship with electronic music is not the same, but okay, like why don't you see Flow Down on the lineup in this position in the same way? Or why don't you see dubstep DJ there up? Do you know what I mean?
And even the DJs who are playing music, which is getting played on those stages, like, so the name that comes to my head is Ben Hemsley,
yes,
right, who's just massive in the north of England, and is playing music which would actually absolutely make sense probably on those big European and American festivals, but he's not there until relatively recently. People were just freaking out about overpopulation, and you know that's no longer a thing, right?
I think people don't. If you live in a city, you don't think that. So if you live in a city, it does feel congested, it does feel overpopulated. Yeah. But then I guess once you zoom out a bit and I think what I experienced from traveling around and seeing the demographic differences, especially in club music, like I've gone to certain places and I can just, you can see the top of people's heads.
Right.
And I won't say where the place was. And maybe this is just anecdotal. I mean, it's definitely anecdotal, but I can see the top of heads and it's like greys at the top.
Okay.
And then I asked the promoter, I was like, oh, what's the kind of average age here for like a club night? And they were like about 35. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting that something that is coded as youth culture or has been historically coded as youth culture is now not, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Yeah, not
as long as, but it's not the same as it being a youth culture.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like that's what most people think, club, young, youth, but we're not in that pocket. Exploring being an artist or a DJ or a producer is being boxed into like a career kind of led kind of this set of decisions now.
Yep.
There has been like this kind of standardization of the ways you should do things. And the layer half of the Square project was me trying to like unwind that for people. Like, no, like don't just follow the instruction manual of how to DJ or how to be a producer or how to gain a following on the internet or how to build a community. I was just like, no, like don't do that. Like this is crazy, because if you're doing it like that, then there are 1,000, 10,000, 15,000 people trying to do the same thing. Right. I literally, sometimes I watch the YouTube videos of the things that people say that they've watched just out of curiosity. And I'm like, okay, so this is where you're getting this from. And I'm mindful of the work that I put out. I'm like, well, this idea needs to try and fit creatively for how many people follow me, 10,000 people. And it can work 10,000 different ways, not post at 6, selfie before algorithm. Right, yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
oh God, yeah.
The hook, all of that stuff. It's like, okay, that works when it's one person doing it, but it doesn't work when it's 10,000. And it doesn't work if you are maybe in a fishing village in the south of England, or if you're in like the corner of Canada. That, you know what I mean? It's like, it just doesn't work. It works when you're maybe in East London, but it doesn't necessarily work if you are in like just outside of this little bubble.
So this overlaps with a yellow square, Keep London Loud yellow square, which was originally interesting cities aren't quiet or something.
Yeah, interesting cities can't be quiet.
Can't be quiet, yeah.
I was just walking down the street and I thought, oh yeah, why do people stop blaring music out of the car? Like, why did that happen?
Right, you were talking about that yesterday as well, yeah.
And I was like, is it insulation of like sound? Like people just have their windows up and people blasting tunes, but we can't hear it outside. And I was like, oh, maybe it's like young people don't drive as much.
Definitely
anymore.
Yeah.
And then people are not kitting out the cars because they're leasing them. So you can't mod them in the way that they used to.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, that's 2 levels. But then I was like, okay, that's one layer of like sound that used to come out. The things that a lot of us live in, it's not, we can't, like if you live in a new build in East London or wherever you live, you can't sound system out one of them things and play it without someone knocking the door. Like, trust me, I've tried.
Right.
And if I play my thing above a certain, like my door will knock. So eventually I've just ended up not really playing music loud at home.
Yeah.
But then if everyone does that, then you don't get there's no bass line coming through the wall at any time, which was a big part of my life growing up.
Yeah. I mean, like to what extent is that do people just have different expectations now? Because I feel like that's true. Everything you said makes complete sense, right? And when I remember back, I remember there's music everywhere and probably quite annoying for certain people, you know, but it was absolutely there. And people, I mean, no doubt people did complain, but seemingly without too much effectiveness, you know?
Yeah, just like, within reasonable kind of hours, you know what I'm saying? So
like, sure, before 11, whatever.
Yeah. Like on my road growing up, like I could hear certain bass lines, like the slang term bass line is just something that I just think, is like my, like a hum that's been in my life.
Right. Sure,
like
exactly.
I feel like that has been just constantly going, whether it's going for us because of car or like these things. And then there was a certain point in the night where it just stopped and it's fine. But now, if I heard that, I'd be like, raw, like someone's playing music.
Right.
Instinctually, I'd be like, where's that coming from? And like, where's that? Like, that feels new. I don't know what that is.
Music Not Diving is brought to you by Acid Nation, formerly AC55id.com. Acid Nation is basically the same service with a few little tweaks. So it's still the fastest growing electronic music marketplace, whether you're selling music, buying music, listening to music. Acid Nation is the place to go. If you're a label doing vinyl, they can help you with that because they have their own pressing plant. Streaming payback rates are 1 cent per stream on the platform, and they also pay podcasters 1 cent per stream. That's pretty amazing. And of course, the other great thing about them is that they're supporting this show. So head over to acidnation.com to check them out. Do DJs, and particularly DJs with a following and some pulling power, do those people have a moral obligation to play small clubs at least occasionally?
No, they can do what they want.
Okay.
Just don't lie and say that you'll do stuff.
Right, okay, yeah.
Then not do it. Or say, like, this is the corniest thing that I see every cycle. Like, the DJ social media is so predictable, right? You develop, you break, you blow, you go and play some big venues, and then you go, oh, like, I wish I could play some small venues. It's like, no, you don't. Like,
you wish you could get paid the same to play a small venue once a year, maybe.
And then, sometimes I'll say, oh, what venue do you want to play that you can't play?
Yeah.
And then it gets a bit fuzzy because all those places are closed. They don't exist anymore.
Right.
So now you want to play in a club that doesn't exist for money that is not possible and for a price point for the audience that is not practical. Or they'll say, oh, well, if I did it, I would lose an opportunity to go and play that thing. It's like, well, yeah, that's why you're playing Brixton Academy and not playing,
right?
You know what I mean? The Alibi or wherever the small, I don't even know what the small club is that people are even missing. I don't even know. Sometimes I'm like, what are you even talking about?
Yeah.
Like, where do you actually want to play that you can't play?
Right. If
you want to do it that badly, just go and do it. Like, they say, oh, my agent and my manager, and it's like, or Live Nation or something. It's like, bruv, it's not hard. Like, you can literally call up to your agent and say, hey, can we just do like a little chill Thursday thing at MOT and like with a couple of my brethrens, and then we make it £5. Yeah, we're going to lose like $1,000, but I don't care. I've made like 200 this year.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Who cares? If you badly want to do it, but don't put it on the internet like some sob story, like, oh, like, I wish we could bring it back. It's like, well, you can. Like, it's not hard. It's just opportunity cost. Yes, you're not going to make 40 grand.
But I think it's true, right? People should take some responsibility. Okay,
I'll give you an example of this. Like, I spoke about this in 2021 when I first came back on the internet and got roasted. And it was when people were talking about, diverse lineups and things like that.
Right.
And I was like, I have no interest in this. Like, because I don't care about any diversity apart from diversity of the money. Like,
right.
Like, tell me how the money's been divided, not how the lineup has been presented.
Okay.
Yes. The headline is still getting 80% of the door.
Because
so
the token booking gets paid nothing, basically.
Exactly.
Always. Yeah.
And it actually makes it worse. I feel like that thing I've been in situations where people have invited me to be the token thing, and I will ask these questions because I guess I'm in a fortunate position where I can ask them and not have professional consequences that are meaningful to me. I can say, well, yeah, what's the split?
It's interesting. I've asked people before. I've asked people. I've talked about gender diversity with female DJs quite a bit on the show. Certainly, yes. In the early episodes I did, and I asked more than one woman. Let's not use the word female because people don't like that. I asked more than one woman whether they'd ever felt that they'd been booked as a token, and every single one said no.
Interesting.
It was like just didn't want to engage. I'm not sure if they were telling the truth. Probably weren't. They were bending the facts a little bit there. But it's interesting to hear you acknowledge it explicitly. Like, what does it feel like when you realise you've been booked as a token?
Well, it's not just in terms of bookings. It'll be like in terms of like when people invite me to do like a panel or like you are the representation of something that we are not, and that be clear. Like, okay, we've got. These archetypes that people even set themselves up for. Like, I'll be on Zoom sometimes and people will say, oh, I'm a middle-class white male with glasses, because some of the times you have to self-describe. And I'm like, is that is that helpful here? Like, is that, or is it, sometimes it is, and sometimes like, is it relevant?
I mean, there is information there that's useful.
Yeah.
You mentioned radio programming and how we should talk about it. So let's talk about this with regards to One Xtra, but also you've more Capital Radio has been in your crosshairs more than once. Why do you hate Joe Budden's Pump It Up track so much?
Okay, okay, this has become a meme.
Yeah.
So, just dialing this down really simply, the BBC has a radio station called One Xtra, which is it's black music station. It's not going to
The way you said that, wow. Okay.
What? That's what the way it describes itself.
Yes.
This is not the way I'm describing it.
Okay.
Whatever that means.
Okay.
Okay, for predominantly during the daytime, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m, it plays majority of American music. Capital has...
Can I just ask you,
yes.
when did that happen? Because that wasn't always the case, right?
I don't know what the turning point of this was, but what I've been doing for the last year is just tracking what is being played.
Right.
And I find it just super illuminating in terms of what is being played and then what is like charting, what is touring, what is deemed to be a success. So that happens on One Xtra. Capital, like another kind of like a commercial broadcaster here, has an extra station as well, they call it, which plays black music again, majority American R&B and hip hop all day, same like 100 tunes on loop pretty much. And now Kiss has the same branding with their black music station, and it's also called Kiss Xtra. So when I was growing up, there was this brand called Urban, which usually meant like R&B and hip hop, or like music people think young black people listen to.
Right.
So, and others, but predominantly that's who is making it or who is pointed at.
Yep.
And today, the extras, I guess to be some sort of signal between what young black people want to listen to in the UK.
Sure.
But that doesn't include a lot of black British music, which is quite strange. And they play a lot of old, particular, like from particular era, like of American R&B and hip hop. And Joe Budden Pump It Up is one of these songs. It came out in 2003, had 7 weeks.
Is it that old?
Yeah,
Is that old?
yeah, exactly. 2003 comes, and it came out the same week as Boy in the Corner. And,
Right.
and
Okay.
had 7 weeks in the top 100, and it gets played every day.
Right,
on
they're not
both.
playing I Love You every day.
No, exactly. This is a classic. This is a perfect example. And I don't think they should play I Love You every day or Pump It Up every day. I feel like a radio station that is, I guess, supposed to represent contemporary music, if maybe it doesn't, but you'd think would reflect at least the last half decade of the output of the country that it is in, at least.
Particularly on the state broadcasters.
On the state broadcaster. So here in the UK, we pay, I think it's like £12 a month for the BBC. And if the television worked the same way as the radio, you would have Friends on at 8 p.m. on a Monday instead of EastEnders. Friends finished 25 years ago. EastEnders gets made
That's a
every
perfect analogy.
Exactly. So we don't program television to say we program radio for a reason, because it would be insane. It would drive us mad. And radio is programmed in a way that I have all these people mansplaining to me how radio works. Elijah, this is how radio works. Do you want to have a conversation with us? Do you want to come up to the office? And I'm like, no, I can just, however it's working is not working.
Professional wrestling makes regular appearances in your timeline and in your output, generally speaking.
Yeah.
I think it, to some extent, probably confounds some people because it's not a very well understood cultural phenomenon. I would describe it as a cultural phenomenon.
Sure.
But like, talk to me about professional wrestling and how it relates to the music scene in the UK.
Okay, so I've been watching wrestling on and off since I was a child. I've always been interested in this thing they have called Kayfabe, which is, I guess, the line between fantasy and reality. And for a long time in that industry, it was protected. So what you see on television, it effectively plays out in real life. But that kind of broke down gradually, and then social media has kind of distorted that. Sometimes that people are in character all the time, like across socials, on the television, in any piece of media that you find them. And I find that super interesting. Like you see, there's this guy called MJF, and he's in character on socials, on television, in person, like if you see him at a convention, he's in, that's it. And I think what's happened with, if I relate this to music, I think what's happened with social media and the centralization of the artist being the communicator of their work is everyone's been pushed to be authentic. And I feel like we've hit peak authenticity. We've seen how to make the tune. We've seen inside everyone's bedrooms. We've seen like every part of like what makes people human now. I'm like, can we reintroduce myth making, storytelling, war, beef, like all these different things that make something interesting to follow. So like, if like there's all these different like things playing out in the world right now. I'm like, Grime had an enemy, for example.
Right.
It was all this other music. Like,
Okay.
It's like, hey, like.
Right. I mean, Grime's initial enemy was actually UK garage, wasn't it? That was the conflict initially, because it was the legacy garage guys disparaging the music of the kids.
Yes.
And calling it the grimy stuff.
Yeah. And think about it now, that people don't want to see that. Like you having a kind of adversity or enemy being like a creative driver, you know what I'm saying? And I remember even say like, yeah, dubstep is the same thing. It's like, oh, we don't want to, I don't know, like hate this like drum and bass or something. It'll be like, okay, we're trying to veer away from that.
Yeah, okay.
Or, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, an important extra wrestling detail here is the good guys and the bad guys, baby faces and heels.
Yeah.
And the heel character doesn't exist so much, as you've said, in music anymore, right? And actually, I mean, from my own perspective, like I very much in the early days of Twitter, I absolutely adopted a heel persona. So I would you know, troll mercilessly and just be this kind of like pantomime villain, which is what a heel absolutely is. And at some stage, it was around 2012, I think, it just stopped working.
Yeah.
Like people just started getting genuinely offended and taking and being like, you know, why are you like this? You're a wanker. You're a right? When all of it was to some degree,
You were
like
in jest, right?
yeah, I mean, and there was a healthy degree of uncertainty whether anything I said was real or not, and that's what essentially the kayfabe thing is. And you know, I mean, it's blurred into lots of different areas of public life now, but in music, I think you're absolutely right that there can be too much authenticity, and at some stage, even that actually sort of bleeds into this kind of like fantasy and reality thing. Because I mean, what gets passed off as being authentic now stretches credulity in quite a lot of ways, you know.